From 2001 to 2011, there were 5 mainline Mario Kart releases: Super Circuit, Double Dash, DS, Wii, and 7. From 2014 to 2023, there were 2, and both were different versions of Mario Kart 8. It's insane to realize that this game was announced 10 years ago, and still, Mario Kart 9 is nowhere to be seen. You would think by this time I'd get bored of playing on the same engine over and over again, but no, it's just as exciting as the day it came out. Thanks to consistent updates and content, this is an experience that has strongly lasted through 2 console generations. So today I wanted to go through the history of Mario Kart 8, see what makes its gameplay and longevity rock solid, and find out how do you keep a game alive for 10 years? Why don't we start all the way in the beginning? Let's talk about the base game. With all the updates, it's hard to remember just how incredibly solid the base package is. Mario Kart 8 pretty much knocks out every relevant gaming category out of the park. This is one of the prettiest games my eyeballs have ever had the pleasure of looking at. Tracks like Grumble Volcano, Cloud Top Cruise, and Toad Harbor make real life seem bland. Each of these courses transports you to a different location with their handcrafted details etched into every corner. When you're blasting through Sunshine Airport, it's hard to notice that there are advertisements for fake airlines, an actual flight board listing locations, and stickers on each of the cargo boxes that act as your obstacles. If I was invited to a race, I would spend the entire time lapping up the water like a dog. It looks so good. This is like 3 AM ice water levels of refreshing. This is all to say, the graphics hold up incredibly well 10 years later, and will probably hold up for the rest of time. The audio is also doing some heavy lifting. For $60, you get an album of 32 of Nintendo's finest works. Dolphin Shoals is iconic, but you can pick out any of the songs from the base game and just jam out. A full orchestra carries you through the race, whether that's the calming hills of Moo Moo Meadows or the chaos that is Bowser's Castle. Oh, and I guess I should talk about the gameplay too. 8 is pretty much a direct follow-up to 7 in most ways. Underwater and gliding sections return, as do coins. The alternative driving methods are such a natural fit to the Mario Kart series. Water segments act as a way for players to face punishment without it being too harsh. You fall into the water in Wii, your whole screen goes black, Lakitu drags you out, and you have to unfreeze yourself from an ice block. Fall into the water in 7 or 8, and your punishment is just going on a less desirable route, which is a lot more fun and easier on new players. Similarly, gliders usually mark the end of a faster route, achieved by good driving, so experienced players also get a reward. What's interesting though is that the fastest route isn't always the best anymore. Coins increase your top speed the more you have, so it's very important to collect them as you race. However, the largest amounts are always placed either on a wide turn or the slower of 2 paths. This presents an interesting choice to the player. In a last lap scenario, being faster is almost always better, but the top speed boost of coins is gonna help out if you grab them during your first. Both these mechanics add much more depth to Mario Kart racing, while being unobtrusive and a lot of fun. There's also anti-gravity, which more serves to let tracks get more creative instead of being a major gameplay change. Mario Kart 8 at its base form is one of the prettiest, most pleasant-sounding fun experiences in the series. It's no wonder they decided to make this one last the longest. You can't just put this much polish into a product and let it go to waste. And so with updates, it can only get even better, starting with the DLC packs. The DLC packs were released in 2 waves and pretty much improved the game across the board. If you purchased them, you got 16 tracks, 6 more characters, 8 new carts, 2 sets of wheels, 2 gliders, and colors for both Yoshi and Shy Guy. Not to mention, this was the first time other Nintendo franchises were allowed into Mario Kart. Sure, there was Rob in Mario Kart DS, which I'm sure somebody liked, but here we got Link driving the Blue Falcon on Animal Crossing. This was a huge step forward in the series in its own right, and on top of that, they added some of the best tracks in the game. Yoshi Circuit, Dragon Driftway, Mute City, Wild Woods, Ribbon Road, Super Bell Subway, and Big Blue for just $12? That is literal robbery. The DLC courses were crafted and scored with the same care the base game was. I mean, Ribbon Road is a Toy Story-esque place with one long winding streamer tying it all together. And this is what they had to work off of. This is pretty much how all DLC should be done. Same or higher quality than the base game, extremely affordable, and extra features that act as a cherry on top. Video game developers gotta take notes, including Nintendo. Like, we're gonna talk about Toad Circuit, don't you worry. Before we get to Deluxe, we actually need to go back, because there was a major update in between the two DLC waves, and that was Mario Kart X Mercedes-Benz. Nah, I'm kidding, but also, can we talk about how nuts city this is? Why does Dry Bones have a better car than me? That guy is dead. What does he need that for? That's like burying a loved one with thousands of dollars. Huh. Anyway, the major update I wanted to talk about was 200cc. When I first saw 200cc, I was like, oh, it's just faster than 150, can't be that bad, and then you move faster than a rocket with a rocket strapped on its back. It's a fantastic game mode because it completely changes the way you play. In every other mode in the series, the brake button is effectively useless. Like, what are you gonna do, stop in the middle of a race? Yes, I know there are some fringe cases, but be fucking for real. Your mashing ass has never hit B ever. On 200, on the other hand, braking is not only highly encouraged, but necessary for good times. Corners turn from a fun game of drifting to death traps where you have to precisely monitor your speed. It takes a decent amount of skill to pull off a good race. This is not the fun party action you can whip out and play with your friends. But when you are finally able to take on a hard track without even touching a wall, you feel like God. It takes a careful combination of braking, not using boosts, and even letting go of the A button, something I'd never imagined doing. This is yet another addition that perfectly slots itself into the Mario Kart formula. It recontextualizes every track in the game for even higher skill players because it plays so differently. So now you have every course on 150, mirror mode, and 200cc to play through as their own unique experience. This is already the most content-packed Mario Kart we've ever gotten. Now, the only way to make this game even better would be to give it some major gameplay upgrades. Alright, let's run through the major ones. Now you can hold 2 items at once, and there are double item boxes littered throughout each track. 2 items are worth it to every player in the game. First wants to avoid just being stuck with a coin, and last wants to increase their chance of getting a bullet bill. As such, the placement of double item boxes encourages dynamic design. Like coins, they are almost never placed in the direct path, requiring either a slight detour or a slower route to collect. It ends up making races a lot more decision-heavy. You can either risk it on a lucky item pull or shorten your lead for safety. Combined with the previously mentioned coins, now every path in the game has merit. Fast or slow, items or not, rich or poor. Compare that to older titles, where once you found the best route, nothing stops you from taking it. The other big race change is the Ultra Mini Turbo. This is cool. Getting an orange was pretty much guaranteed on almost every corner, so adding purple gives a reward for tight execution. Mario Kart 8 has a battle mode now. Battle mode was the most noticeable flaw in the original. There was only Balloon Battle, and all of the stages were just courses that you race on instead of arenas. These are just way too big to have meaningful interactions, and also just not built for battles, cause like, they weren't. 8 Deluxe brings us 8 fabulous arenas with 5 unique modes and a battle-exclusive item in the Feather. These changes make the other half of the game playable. Sometimes you gotta take a break from the racing, and there's nothing like throwing a bomb at everyone and everything to calm your heart. I find that a lot of casual players enjoy battle a lot more as well. Driving a track is hard, and getting 12th doesn't feel great. You can still get last here, but at least you did it while running away from the police. Deluxe fixed the biggest problem with the Wii U version, added even more layers to the already fantastic racing, and slapped in some extra goodies. I think most people assumed Nintendo was finished, finally letting this game go to rest and using it as a base to develop Mario Kart 9. And then the Booster Course Pass got announced. $25 for 48 new courses. That is a whole entire game on top of a whole entire game. Absolutely unnecessary at this point, and yet I was totally on board. The Booster Course Pass was the injection of life Mario Kart 8 needed to go on for another 5 years. Adding more courses not only gives you more content, but also increases the skill ceiling in racing. In 2014, you'd only need to memorize 32 tracks to have the most game knowledge possible. By the end of 2023, that number will be a colossal 96. It's honestly a bit intimidating. Practically all the tour tracks are new to me since I would never sell my soul to a gacha game, plus there are original courses and the GBA ones are completely overhauled. Just go online and you'll see what I mean. Watch in horror as the roulette skips your pick to send you straight into Bangkok. The huge selection of courses also makes the game a lot more appealing to new players. No longer can you run through every interesting track in one afternoon, now it's gonna take a couple days. Unfortunately, this is the one update in the long history of this game that actively disappointed me. If Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a perfect 3-tiered wedding cake, Waves 1 and 2 of the Booster Course Pass are the raisins that someone decided to add in. Some of these courses just look bad, and more importantly, they clash with the art style the rest of the game presents. The biggest offenders are Toad Circuit and New York Minute. This is the grass in Donut Plains 3, and this is the grass in New York. It's just clear they spent a lot less time on this wave of the DLC. The later packs deliver some truly beautiful courses, worthy of standing next to the base game, so I can't be too disappointed. In fact, Wave 4 also made one of my favorite changes in an update. For the longest time, the balance of the characters and kart parts remained the same. It was quickly found out that the best combination for racing was Waluigi or anyone else in his weight class on the Wild Wiggler and Roller wheels. This made racing at the top level very restrictive. There was one combo to win, and that's that. But with the advent of the Booster Course Pass, Nintendo made loads of balance changes to shake up the meta. Now people don't know what's best, and almost every kart combination is either viable or close enough to consider usage. This is just a nice bone to throw to the top of competition. They're your most dedicated players, so keeping them engaged is pretty important. It also helps out more casual players, although they probably won't notice as much. I am worried to see if they will continue to homogenize the parts to the point of not mattering, but I can't tell if they will for now, because Wave 5 was the last update to release at the time of making this video, bringing us to the end of the Mario Kart 8 update journey. So let's go back to our original question. How do you keep a game alive for 10 years? Well, it's very simple. You just start with an incredibly solid base, add in DLC that improves every part of your game, add in game modes that inject new life into old content, make huge changes that add more depth to your main game mode, fix the biggest flaw of your base game, add King Boo and his friend Regular Boo, make balance changes to shake up competitive metas, and stretch all of this content across roughly 10 years. Obviously, that's a lot, and wildly unrealistic for most developers, but that just speaks volumes on how amazing of a package Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is. I've been playing this game on and off for 9 years now, and the constant updates keep it fresh every time I log in. Inevitably, Mario Kart 9 is gonna have some big Heelys to fill, and I hope when it releases, it can receive the same love and attention that was so clearly poured into its predecessor. Okay, maybe not this much love and attention, it could go to therapy or something.